You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Every time I go to put my hand, I think of you, so I don't do it no more. You broke me that habit.
All of a sudden, I'm second
Well, I
guessing
appreciate you
myself.
telling me that. I didn't even think of that.
I don't know what came out of my
Now when I
mouth.
do the pledge of allegiance, I always think of you that I gotta keep my hand.
Indivisible is one of the important phrases. I can only say that I've spent too much time in town. It's just crazy. 2 8-hour days back to back. Oh my heavens.
Tell me,
I'll be there
we're
tomorrow.
good?
3,000 from the Wickham Hall expenditure.
It was 3,000 even?
Up to.
Up to. Well, she found it.
Okay.
So we did approve it, and we did it up to $3,000 from the Wickham. From the
Expendable trust.
So we got it, Joe.
Joe, we're good.
And on the record that
She-
that was right.
You know, we got the key here, right here. She just pulls it right up, boom. You got up to $3,000, that's it. So use cheaper wire. Okay. We all ready here to go?
Make a motion to approve the regular minutes for August 3rd, August 5th, and August 7th.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the
So
non-public.
I abstained from 5 and 7.
Okay.
Thanks. Wasn't here.
That's right, the part-time selectman wasn't here. Go ahead, Mark, I'm sorry for the interruption.
Make a motion to approve the non-public minutes for August 3rd, Sessions 1, August 5th, Sessions 1, August 7th, Sessions 1, 2, and 3.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Same.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Public input? Nothing.
Perfect.
Joe, did you, reach Chris tonight? Yes. No, the other Joe.
Both Joes.
Both Joes. Joe DiRusso, did you? You talked to him? So he's, oh, this might be him.
And it is. Just in time, Chris. Come on up.
Chris?
Sorry, I got
That's okay.
Appreciate you coming.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, I'll let you take a minute to get seated and organized and... Good. So, I was at Old Home Day and I bumped into Chris and we had a little conversation. I was eating my burger and Chris came over and we had a good long conversation. It was enjoyable and as we were discussing things, Chris offered to me that he would love to come to the Selectboard meeting and talk a little about things that could educate us a little more as selectmen that is in our field. And he was willing to come and just give us what he knows a little to maybe help us in the future understand some of these things. And I can't thank him enough for spending the time, and I know he's a busy man, but thank you so much, Chris.
you bet.
All right.
My pleasure. So when I was talking to Jimmy, he asked me to come to talk specifically about what used to be called the lorry list, but is now called the exculpatory evidence schedule. That essentially involves whether a police officer gets placed on this EES list.
EES.
EES, so it stands for Exculpatory Evidence Schedule. And it used to be called the lorry list.
They don't use that no more?
The lorry list?
Yeah,
And
the-
now it's been replaced by the EES.
Okay.
As a new designation for it. And lorry is from a case, the state of New Hampshire versus Lorry, which it involved a police officer. So that's where the case law about this initially started. But it goes back further, which is all prosecutors are ethically obligated and constitutionally obligated to provide to the defense any evidence that's potentially exculpatory. and that includes information about police officers if they've done something wrong that could be potentially exculpatory. And so that's why the Lori list was developed and the EES list is developed. And that obligation comes from the case United States versus Brady or Brady versus the United States, where that obligation was essentially set forth that prosecutors are required to provide this information. So the EES list itself, they have a public list. It's on the Attorney General's website. I've got, this is I think from October of 2025, the publication. And as you go through it, you can see essentially it has the officer's name, the reporting department, date of incident, date of notification, and then category. So the category involves why the officer was placed on the EES list. And essentially there's four different reasons. There's the first and probably the most detrimental to an officer's career involves general issues of credibility. So that would involve false statements on the stand. It would involve false information put into a police report, false information provided during an internal investigation. So any sort of providing of false information during the course of an official proceeding involving as your duty as a police officer. So that would fall into the general category of credibility or truthfulness or falsification of records. And that's in your official capacity as a police officer. So it wouldn't include telling your wife you're working when in fact you're out on the golf course. Okay? You wouldn't be placed on the EES list for that. But anything that involves your official capacity as a police officer where you give some false information in your capacity could potentially get you placed on the list. Another category is excessive force. So in other words, if there's an arrest made and a citizen makes a complaint that the officer used excessive force, again, if after that is investigated and a finding is made, if there's a founded finding of excessive force, that could get you placed on the list. Another category is if the officer commits a criminal offense, like a DWI or a domestic violence case, that would get you placed on the list. And then the fourth category is an egregious dereliction of duty. So it's not falsification, it's not excessive force, you haven't committed a new crime, but it would be the violation of something you know is pretty important and you're just disregarding whatever it is, whether it's a policy or a constitutional right or whatever it is. Let's say, as a police officer, you know that if you arrest somebody and you want to question them, you're obligated to provide them their rights under Miranda. And let's say you just say, screw it, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to arrest them and question them because I want to find out this information, or I'm just going to flagrantly disregard their Miranda rights. That would be considered an egregious dereliction of duty. And so that could get you placed on the list. And then there's a fifth category, and that would be a mental health issue involving a police officer such that the police officer had to be suspended or some official action had to be taken based on that mental health issue. But it doesn't involve a police officer just going to counseling on their own. So those are essentially the 5 different types of categories that can get you placed on the list. So what's the process? How do you wind up on the list?
Could I just ask one?
Sure, absolutely. And feel free to interrupt at any time.
Truthfulness is one that I see.
Yeah.
What category does that come under?
That's the credibility issue. So essentially, giving false testimony, false information in a police report, lying during the course of an internal investigation, things like that that reflect untruthfulness in an official capacity.
So in a recording of an incident, for example, and the timing is off a little bit, what kind of leeway is there in that? If it occurred at 2 p.m., they put it down at 2:36, is that an egregious?
No, it would really depend on the reason for the difference. In other words, if the officer was simply mistaken, that's not an intentional lie or falsification. The officer was just mistaken. So that would all come out during the actual investigation of whether someone was being untruthful in an official capacity, or whether they just made an honest mistake. So that's part of kind of the investigation process of whether somebody should be placed on the list.
So I just wanted to go through that process.
Yes.
I'm Jay Ward, by the way, we haven't
Nice
met.
to meet you.
If someone's accused of something like this, there's a process where, but in the meantime, they're placed on the list?
So so you can be placed on the list temporarily. So in other words, if something comes to the light of a supervisor in the police department or the chief, that definitely needs to be investigated, then under the policy, the chief or the supervisor should place the person on the list temporarily, and so prosecutors can be notified, and then prosecutors can make decisions about what to do with that information. But so they should be placed on the list temporarily, and then the process plays out. In other words, the investigation takes place to determine whether what the accusation is, whether it was founded or unfounded. And then after the process runs its course, and then there's been a final finding that warrants the person being placed on the list, then they're placed on the list permanently.
So there's nothing on here which says it's pending, right? Or,
Yeah, because this is the public list.
right.
So a temporary placement on this list wouldn't be publicized because the investigation hadn't taken
Okay, so the
place.
prosecutor would know, but
The
not the
prosecutor
public.
would know, just so the prosecutor says, oh, this is an issue. Do I have to dig into this further so that I can let defense counsel potentially know that this officer may have an issue? Because the last thing you want to do is have a trial or a jury trial and keep this information from the defense and then have it come out that, oh, in fact, this was an issue.
Right.
And now we're going to have to go through this whole thing
Right.
again.
So it kind of ties your hands as a prosecutor if somebody is involved with the incident.
And we don't know about it. At least if we know about it, then we can flesh it out with the defense counsel and with the court.
And that's why they get placed on the list before the investigation.
Before on a temporary basis. But that's not made public. That's just made, that's essentially, the person is placed on the temporary list, the the prosecutor's office and the AG's office are noticed.
So everything I see on this is finalized.
It's gone through
Okay.
its whole thing.
That's-
And it's finalized. So this is the public list.
Thanks.
So just to talk some more about that process. So let's say a chief gets information, a citizen complains that Officer X threw me on the hood of the car and roughed me up, and it wasn't, called for, I wasn't resisting, or whatever. So the chief then conducts an internal affairs investigation of the citizen's complaint. They go through the process. The chief notifies the officer that this complaint's been made. The process is gone through, and however that process takes place with individual departments is their decision. And then a final determination is made. Officer is notified. The officer has whatever rights they have based on the department and the town's protocols to appeal that decision. I presume it would be in Swanzey if an officer was placed on the list, investigated, chief made the decision to place him on the list, that the officer could then appeal that decision to the select board for a further process. That whole process takes place, and then ultimately, if the select board or whatever the town governing body determines that the accusations are founded, then the person, the chief then notifies my office and the Attorney General's office that the person is being placed on the list for whatever reason it might be, whether it's truthfulness or credibility, excessive force, new criminal conduct, or the other into the category.
So,
And then here, let me just finish with the process part of this. Then the officer can take it to court. So that has happened, and it's happened much more frequently in New Hampshire in the last 5 to 8 years, that officers will take it to court and basically make a claim that, the process wasn't fair, or I shouldn't have been placed on the list for whatever reason.
so my only other question is some of the categories here, I don't think excessive force is certainly something I'd be worried about, but in some of your cases, excessive force may not have been involved, or may have been no force involved. It might have been an investigation of facts or something like that.
Correct.
Would you feel comfortable as a prosecutor taking someone who's on the list for excessive force, but that wasn't part of his role in developing the case? Would you feel comfortable?
Yeah, so an excessive force is probably the least career ruining of the different categories. I mean, egregious dereliction of duty, depending on what it is, also is not career ending. So yeah, I would consider taking someone with excessive force, because excessive force really doesn't come up in probably 80 to 90% of the cases that we're involved in. Because if an officer investigates a shoplifting at Walmart and there's no arrest made, a person,
What I was looking for is whether there's any nuance in this. I'm not suggesting that we should have people who are on the list for excessive force working for the Swansea Police Department.
But there absolutely is a nuance in it. Excessive force doesn't apply, in other words, a prosecutor wouldn't be obligated to let defense counsel know that this officer's on a list for excessive force in a case that there's no force involved in the case at all.
Okay.
So the excessive force issue comes out mostly in resisting arrest cases, quite honestly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
Yeah.
questions about the process?
Well, I don't want to ask a question. I was hoping you'd finish, and then I could ask at the end, because it seems like we're going to ask questions that you're going to get to, so.
Yep.
So do you have more, right?
I mean, essentially, that's the process. So those are the categories, that's the process that gets you put on. Oh, and I guess one more thing that's important is that having an officer that's on the list is I guess I would, for lack of a better word, time-consuming for prosecutors. Because if you have an officer that's on the list, even if the person's on the public list, everybody knows they're on the list, but you still have to go through the process of providing to defense counsel what the summary is of the conduct underlying his or her placement on the list. So we have to file a motion with the court asking for a protective order for the materials that we're going to give to defense counsel that essentially summarizes the investigation that wound up placing the person on the list. So it's just, it's more work for the prosecutor if you have an officer that's on the list, because in every case that officer's, particularly if it involves credibility or truthfulness, in every case that officer's involved in, you're going to be having to file this request with the court for the protective order for the materials that you're going to have to turn over to defense counsel, so that defense counsel can't just take the information and post it on the internet. So there is more work involved if you have an officer who's on the list as a prosecutor. So that's the categories, the process, and the extra work involved. So fire away with any questions.
So any of these categories, an officer could still hold his position as a policeman? Even if he's on there under any of these categories, he can still be a police officer?
Correct,
Okay.
unless the police standards and training got involved and decertified them.
Okay. So now we say we have a police officer that's on the list, right? And he gets out there. What does it hurt us in what way as a police department or an investigation or what with him involved? How does it affect everything?
It's pretty, well, with the category of truthfulness or credibility, it affects every case. Because the officer's word's going to have little value. In other words, if you're relying...
So if it goes to trial.
If you're relying on the credibility of the officer, and whatever it is that they did was egregious enough to get them placed on the list for truthfulness, then you can, bet your bottom dollar that officer is going to be grilled on the stand about that incident that got him or her placed on the list for truthfulness. So that's the big one. Personally, I would not hire an officer who was on the list for truthfulness or credibility, because it's just, it's too hard to get around in many cases. The other categories can be obviously it's case specific, and you can, the officer, the issue that got them placed on the list may not even be relevant to the case, and the judge may rule that, defense counsel can't ask about it. So let's say the example I gave you where an officer just says, I'm not ever going to give anybody their Miranda rights even though I've been arrested or I'm questioned. But this officer is involved in the case, but the officer doesn't question the suspect, and all the officer did in the case was, conducted a traffic stop which resulted in the person's arrest, but they weren't involved in the arrest and they didn't question him. The court's probably going to rule that whole issue about the egregious dereliction of duty isn't going to come in because it's not relevant to the facts of the specific case.
Okay.
So in all the categories except credibility and truthfulness, you can basically, it's case specific and you can work around it.
So what happens if an officer who's been serving in a town for a long time and does something and gets put on this list? What about their previous cases? Are they called into question? Does people want to appeal them, or those are all done at that point, right? You can't go back. So if someone's deemed to be on this for truthfulness or whatever, that's not retroactive to everything they were witnessing prior to that.
Unless it was something crazy, like, I always, my entire life, I falsified every police report I ever wrote. Then that would get time consuming, and
right.
That's never going to happen.
Massachusetts State Police is dealing with that right now on highly egregious, and they're from a homicide investigator that was terminated, and they're having to revisit, I forgot how many cases, so depending on the level
does happen.
of it.
Right. And they had an issue like in Mass also, an issue with the state lab, where the state lab
Yes,
people
I read
were-
about that,
Yeah, so it can be retroactive, but it's a pretty rare case.
Who puts the officer on the ladder? That's just the chief? Is he the only one that does that?
The chief is yes.
He's the one, it
he's
has
the
to
one
be
that
from the chief.
notifies- He's the one that notifies the county attorney and the AGs. Again, after the process has been undergone. In other words, the chief and the IA investigation goes on, and so there's more people involved. But the chief ultimately is the one that puts them on the list or notifies the county attorney and the AG's office.
Okay,
And
then,
there's also, I forgot to mention, there is an annual certification that the chief is obligated to do, basically saying, I have no updates to my last certification about officers in this department and who should be on the list or who's not on the list.
okay, then you mentioned that the officer now could appeal this, right? And then it comes to the select board, and then what happens? And then it's into the select board's hand?
Well,
How does that happen?
It depends on how each department's policies and protocol and grievance process, how they deal with any grievance of a town employee. So I'm not familiar with every town's particular grievance policies and processes and how that interacts with the police department. But essentially they would go through the internal affairs investigation, whatever that entails, based on the department's policies and procedures. And then whatever grievance policy that the town has relative to any town employee, they could go through that process with the town. So I don't know if that is to the select board in Swanzey or not. However, the grievance policy takes place within the town. And then if at the end of that procedure, that it's determined that the conduct was founded and valid, then the chief sends out the notification to the county attorney and the AG's office. And then the next step, I guess, is for the officer to file a suit in the Superior Court, which is, again, does happen.
I have a question for you. If an officer is placed on the list, for whatever reason, and he continues to serve and has no issues, at some point will he like time out of the list and be removed from it? Oh,
There's no getting off the list.
No getting off the list. It used to be before the EES protocol was amended that there was some, it wasn't a policy, but there was some talk that maybe 10 years after the conduct that the person should be able to come off. But there was no real legal basis for that other than the rules of evidence. And someone kind of thought that that made sense, that you couldn't use a conviction after 10 years after the person had completed their sentence. So it kind of made sense. But ultimately, when they came up with the new EES protocol, it's a lifetime designation.
wow, the rest of their career. It's on there.
Which is why you're finding more people appealing these issues to the Superior Court, I think, if they truly want to remain in law enforcement.
So the chief can hire a police officer that's on that list, right, on his own. He could just hire someone, and he would probably stay away from the investigation of any crimes, right, because you wouldn't want to put him up in front of.
Again, it depends on what the classification or what the category he's on the list or she's on the list for.
But you mentioned, you suggest that it wouldn't be a good idea to have a police officer that's on that list under credibility.
Yeah,
You would suggest
it's
it.
just a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
You know, again, you can be placed on the list for something that was pretty minor. So, you know, but it could be a truthfulness issue, but in most cases where you're placed on the list for an issue involving truthfulness or credibility, it's significant and it's going to follow you throughout your career.
Yeah, because you said that then, say something goes to court, the judge could throw that out because it doesn't blend with the crime what we're dealing with, right? You said something like.
So the judge ultimately determines what information about this person's conduct that placed him on the list is admissible in court or not. So if it's an excessive force placement on the list, and excessive force has nothing to do with the case, then that's not going to come up in the case. But if it's a credibility issue...
So the list wouldn't matter, the trial, everything would go through and wouldn't even matter?
It doesn't matter.
I get
It doesn't
you.
matter.
Okay.
But if it's a credibility issue and the officer is testifying and his or her credibility is an issue, then the judge has to look at the information underlying the conduct that got them placed on the list for credibility and determine how much of that information should come out at trial and be allowed to be used on cross-examination when the officer testifies.
Joe, do you have any input on this whole subject we're talking about? Would you like to talk about it for anything?
The only thing I'll bring up, the use of force, for obviously for credibility in court, it doesn't have an impact. Where use of force comes in, I used to investigate officer-involved shootings, and that's in a questionable use of force, whether it be deadly force or serious bodily injury. If somebody is on that list for excessive force, that's where it really comes into play. And we come into play more in a civil trial or in a deciding factor whether use of force was justified or not. So that so like I said, it wouldn't have. I should say it wouldn't. It most likely wouldn't have an impact on somebody's credibility to be able to testify in court, but it can have serious ramifications if they are involved in an incident with a questionable use of force.
Yeah, it becomes a liability issue for the town, possibly.
What if an officer appeals to court? How often, how do the officers win those cases, or do they, you know, what's the odds of someone being able to fight something like that?
There have been officers who have won And it's mostly because the process that was used to place them on the list was lacking in due process. That they didn't essentially get a fair shake at defending themselves in going through the process of being placed on the list. So those are the cases that result in
Okay.
people being taken off the list. But if an officer, you know, doesn't contest being placed on the list and just 5 years later decides, oops, that was a bad idea, not contesting it, they don't tend to have any success in court.
It just, other than credibility, it seems there's some flexibility with the other 4 criteria. But in general, it really seems like people are being forced to prove they're innocent as opposed to not guilty. If somebody can be placed on the list and without any due process, not the final list, but on the preliminary list, it just seems to me a terminology challenge. It ought to be something else. They're put on probation while they're, but even though it's not public and it's not here, word gets out. And if they come in front of the Board of Selectmen, they have the opportunity to be in public or non-public, I believe. So if it's public, then it's public. And even if it's in non-public, there's no guarantee that word's not going to get out. I just think it's unfairly stacked against a police officer, strictly from a terminology perspective, because they're guilty until they prove themselves innocent. Again, I think it's more terminology than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, the temporary list is problematic in that sense, because you basically, a citizen makes a complaint, at least there's an initial determination that there's some legs to the complaint, so that's when they're put on the list. They're not put on the list just simply because a citizen makes a complaint. I mean, I think chiefs do some preliminary investigation before they put them on the temporary list. There's got to be a little bit more to it than just a citizen's complaint. There's got to be some merit to placing them on the temporary list, and then let things run their course. So they do get their due process eventually.
But they're already on the list. And I think it should just, we're not going to change it, but
yeah,
it just seems in fairness, there should be some other terminology used so that they're not cast by that description, because it follows. And with what we're trying to do to encourage people to get into law enforcement.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's a shame.
Yeah, I agree.
And so when Bill says that, it strikes me like, so that's really basically up to the chief to say whether he feels he should go on the Larry list or not. So if somebody did come in to have a bad complaint and the chief is like, I don't know if this is right, he has that choice to submit him to the list or not, right?
The chief has a lot of flexibility in deciding how to go from that citizen's complaint. In other words, they start kind of the process of the internal affairs investigation. They start that process, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, there may be some legs to this, and so I'm going to put them on the temporary list. Or start the process, and the chief's like, nah, this is just nothing, and not put them on the list, and then run the full investigation, and then if it turns out to be nothing, it was nothing. He was never on the temporary list, and if it turns out to be something, then they'll ultimately be placed on the list.
But I would imagine the chief has to feel pretty strongly that it's there before he goes that far to put somebody on the list, right?
Correct.
Yeah, you would have to have, because this is affecting somebody's career and the whole bit, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's also to start an internal affairs investigation.
Yeah.
Significant.
Right.
Are there consequences for chiefs who abuse that power? No. Right?
Not for me to say.
Well, I'm saying.
Certainly there have been claims by police officers that chiefs have used it for retribution purposes and things like that.
I'm just wondering, because the chief does have a lot of power, and of course, that chief is subject to, say, the select board in terms of review, et cetera, but if a case were to go to court and it was determined that the whole thing was unfounded, are there any penalties for the chief in that situation?
I think those probably lie with the select board.
Yeah, yeah. Got it.
Probably civil court, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because
Yeah.
it does look like it's stacked against the officer. As Bill said, they're put on it on a temporary basis, but that means their reputation in the prosecutor's world, as well as the officials in town minds, and the chief is in control of the whole thing, so that the officer he can appeal, but he's appealing against authority. It just seems like it's stacked against him. I'm not saying that it
Yeah.
isn't a good process, it just
Yep.
doesn't look like it's,
Yeah, I mean, the use of the temporary list, it doesn't happen often, because I think most of the time the chief can investigate the complaint, whatever it might be, quickly. And then, so there's no real need to, if you get a complaint and you can do the IA investigation in 3 or 4 days or a week, there's no need to put the person on the list. It's
Right.
only when you get an accusation that you think may involve a lengthy investigation or bringing in, what's that organization that towns hire? MRI, thank you. Bringing in MRI to do it. If there's something like that, then that's when the temporary list becomes
Yeah.
important. Well, most of the complaints can be dealt with without the person ever having to be placed on the temporary list, because it's going to be over and done with and finalized pretty quickly.
Very interesting.
Quite a lot.
That's it, I learned a lot.
thank you.
So what else can you tell us about the AG's office?
The AG.
Or, I'm sorry, the district attorney's office.
Well, our primary, I can tell you what our primary obligation is, and that's to prosecute felonies in Cheshire County, with the exception of first and second degree murder, which the Attorney General's office has sole jurisdiction over. So our main job is to prosecute felonies that occur in Cheshire County. We also are involved in the circuit court with the regional prosecutor program is manned by an assistant county attorney, and actually it's 2 assistant county attorneys right now. So they're involved in the circuit court, and obviously Swanzey is part of the regional prosecutor program. But so our main obligation is prosecution of felony cases in Cheshire County.
How are we doing?
We're doing good. It's interesting, since I've been the county attorney in 2013, the number of people that are indicted every year is always between about 210 and 230 or 40 individuals are indicted. So that's not the number of charges, that's just the number of people that are indicted. So essentially, that it's pretty consistent, and the types of crime, obviously vary, but it's a lot of drug cases, a lot of thefts, burglaries, assaults, sexual assaults involving children. I mean, it runs the gamut. But most of the cases are of that nature. And it's, things change a little bit, like when the fentanyl and heroin crisis first started. I mean, there was a huge uptick in those types of cases. And drug cases still are very prevalent, but the type of cases over the years have not changed that dramatically.
Since 2013, you said?
2013.
2013, I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, which in some respects makes sense, because the population in Cheshire County hasn't changed much. It's been fairly consistent over that time period.
Do you find that you typically prosecute a case or plead out a case, or how does that process work?
So I'd say the vast majority of cases, probably 90-95%, are resolved with a plea bargain, with a person agreeing to plead to a sentence. The plea bargains can involve, there's essentially 3 types of different pleas. In New Hampshire, there's what's called a straight negotiated plea, where essentially prosecution offers X and the defendant agrees to X, and the judge then, you go in front of the judge, the defendant pleads guilty, and the judge then has to decide whether to accept what's been negotiated. So that's called a fully negotiated plea. There's also what's known as a capped plea, where essentially the prosecutor is going to ask for X, and the defendant can argue for anything less than X. And then the judge, as long as the judge doesn't exceed X, the judge can give the person anything up to X. So let's say I offer 2 to 4 in the state prison, and the defense comes in and argues for 60 days in the House of Corrections. If the judge gives the defendant a 2 to 4 in the state prison, the defendant is stuck with that sentence. Or if the judge gives him 30 days in the House of Corrections, I'm stuck with that sentence. So that's what's called a cap plea. And then if the judge exceeds the 2 to 4, then the defendant can withdraw their plea and go to trial. And then there's what's called a naked plea, which essentially the defendant comes in and says, the prosecutor is out of his mind, I'm just going to plead guilty and argue for whatever I want to argue for. Because the prosecutor is being so unreasonable, I'm not even going to acknowledge that what they offered me is reasonable, but I'm accepting responsibility for what I did. Naked pleas don't happen very often.
I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so either.
No. And then there's obviously trials that occur when you can't come up with a negotiated resolution.
But from what you say, the trials are probably relatively rare. If you said about 90% are resolved.
Yeah, most of them are resolved by negotiated pleas, for a variety of reasons, but that's just the nature of the way that the system works.
Why is that a good way of doing it? I'm just saying, is it because it saves money or time or what?
I think jury trials are a crapshoot because you're basically presenting something to 14 strangers and asking them to come to a conclusion beyond a reasonable doubt. So, I mean, a state may have a very strong case. I've had cases where I thought I had a strong case and a jury came back with a not guilty quickly. I've had cases that I didn't think were that strong and the jury came back with a guilty. I mean, so juries are fickle. You never know what they're going to get hung up on and whether they're going to be able to come to a unanimous verdict. So essentially you're asking, I mean, 14 sit on the trial and 2 are excused and 12 ultimately decide. But you're asking 12 people to come to an agreement about something unanimously beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yep.
And so, for example, in January of 2025, I probably had the most stressful trial I've ever had in my almost 40 years of doing this, where the defendant was charged with multiple counts of attempted murder for an incident in Spofford in 2018. And it took, 7 years to get to trial because of issues with his competence to stand trial. But anyhow, this was the most dangerous person I have ever dealt with in 38 years. And so this trial, if he was acquitted, it would have not been good for the community because he was one dangerous person that should not have been out in public. So, but the plea offer in the case was, spend the rest of your life in jail essentially. So it was that's the kind of case that goes to trial because the offer is such that the defendant's not going to take it. And my position was such that this person should never be walking in public again. And so that's the kind of case that goes to trial. And they're incredibly stressful, particularly when you're dealing with somebody that dangerous, that if they're acquitted and they're out in the public, it's not going to be a good end.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is very educational. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming. This is wonderful that you spent the time with us tonight.
Yep, and if any of you ever have any questions, just call me at my office.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have about the criminal justice system.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
And I want to say to you, thank you for doing what you're doing to keep us safe.
Yeah, thank you.
That was very interesting.
You can start with him. He's going to be there for a while.
The vice chairman has called the meeting back to order, so have at it, Mr.
Okay,
DiRusso.
you guys looking for a road update, and I did confirm that up to 3,000, the invoices, quote is less than 3,000 for the Wickham Hall work, so I got that scheduled already, we're getting ready for it to be scheduled. As far as our major road work, we're on real good on schedule. Marcy Hill's completely done, that was the big one so far. I was waiting for a part for one of the machines. We put all the shoulder gravel and driveway gravel up in there, but we need to do some touch-up. The part just came in for the machine, so we're gonna be back up there probably next week. With all the rain we have been getting though, all states falling behind a little bit in their schedule. So the next big one to do is Christian Hill here. It needs to be reclaimed. There's a section, the first section of the road needs to be completely milled up, but I don't want to mill that up until we know there's going to be a closer window, because then we're going to be dealing with erosion and steep hill, having it gravel. So we're working on the timing of that right now. But still slated to get done this year. That along with Summer Street, Troy Hill, and the shimming up on Partridgeberry. The last couple of days, we just reconstructed the end of Winch Hill Road, which was in really bad shape with some drainage improvements, and Corliss Road. Finally got the last signed letter with the sidewalk project over on 32. Communicating with Eversource about adjusting some telephone poles to make it fit, and I'm going to be submitting. I got to call into DOT for a meeting out there before I submit the plan, but hopefully we get approval on that, and that work will be completed end of August, beginning of September. We'll start it. So if everything goes well with the state, little concerned because, which leads me to the flashing lights for the crossing on Matthews Road and Sawyer's Crossing Road. Contractor's coming tomorrow with the prefab foundations for the signs. We're going to install those tomorrow.
On Matthews Road.
On Matthews Road. Stefan's running into some issues with the state saying they want to engineer
Sawyer's Crossing.
Sawyer's Crossing. I'm hoping they don't do that on the sidewalk, because if they do that on the sidewalk, we don't have enough money to do it. When I did the Sawyer's Crossing sidewalk, I submitted a tax map showing approximately where the sidewalk was going to be, explaining how it was going to be constructed, 3 feet of gravel, 3 inches of asphalt, compaction. I'm just hoping that they don't come back and say that I need an engineer, because then you're talking double what we're going to need to construct the sidewalk, so we'll see. But yeah, tomorrow those bases will be installed on Matthews Road. I'm not sure what the contractor's schedule is for installing the signs. But they're scheduled to be installed tomorrow.
So when you say the bases, do they come like?
Prefab concrete.
Oh,
yeah,
and they just
like
jump, they
1,500
deliver,
pounds.
and they set them right?
We
in-
excavate out an area, put a stone base, and put them in place, and then they come back and install the signs later. But tomorrow is just the bases
All 3 crossings.
on Matthews Road,
Yeah.
not the Sawyer's Crossing.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yes. So those will be in.
I want to mention too, the intersection of Rapid Hollow Road and Swanzey Lake Road looks great. Nice
Thank you.
job.
Yeah, I'm pleased the way that came out, just looking at that once again, like you've heard me say, for plowing in the wintertime, that's the plow truck simply pulls in, goes to the end of the road, and then pulls out. None of this backing out into the road, because as you know, it's a blind corner. Depending on how things go, the next one I want to do, and hopefully this year, but I don't know, money, the budget and timing, the next one I want to do is Carlton Road at 32. has that.
Yes.
I've had people tell me, like, I don't know which way to go when I come out, I turn left or right, and it's a very small cross project. The cost will be the paving of it, but it will simply be a 40 to 50 foot wide, dropping down to the 24 foot road. So I am hoping to do that this year, but I'm not sure if we're going to get it.
Is that the last one of those intersections in the town?
I believe that is the last one.
Oh.
I believe that is the last one. No, I take that back. There's one, which is a lot less traffic. It's down south of Warmack on the right. The name of the road escapes me.
Oh, yeah.
There's one there, and that,
If they're watching, they're gonna be unhappy, we can't remember their name, the road name, but yeah.
Uh-oh.
so, but yeah, the road was recently, 3 or 4 years ago, recently paved, but.
That was before you, though.
Yeah, so I wanted to pull that intersection out as well, but there's not as much traffic there.
Right.
But the big thing, like I said, is the safety at 6 o'clock in the morning, backing out with a plow truck. It just makes it a lot more dangerous. Then the other thing we've been working on, Sue, you saw the email I sent about Stratton Library. So there was some work done to the Stratton Library on fixing the joints on the bricks. It was done by a contractor who's done a bunch of work in the past over at the library. It didn't come out that good. The work was a little sloppy. So I reached out to Gordon Services because they have a Mason division, and they came up and took a look at it. They can easily correct it. He said it's a non-issue to grind that out and replace it with David's big concern is the Portland cement that was added to the mortar. He's concerned about the welfare of the bricks because of it. The mason I talked to said that's not really a big concern. They will grind it out and replace with 100% lime, but he said it's pretty common practice for masons to add a little bit of Portland cement to strengthen the joint. He said that minimal amount is not going to create any issues for the brick, but he said he can easily grind it out and replace it. David expressed an interest in having him come back and do a demonstration. I need to talk. If we are going to do something like that, we're going to have to pay them. They're not going to come up and do a demonstration on how they're going to grind the joint out, but it's something that we can look at.
And the situation on Christian Hill Road up top, how is that materializing?
Better. The culvert has been installed properly. The eroding sand that was coming down into the drainage ditch has been moved. And silt fence was installed. I had to go up there and teach them how to properly install the silt fence because it wasn't installed properly, but it is now. I actually emailed the property owner today that it's there. But there's a lot more work for the proper installation of the driveway to be done up there. But the issues have been corrected. The owner was receptive and got on the contractor right away about it.
Great.
Is it Christian Hill? I thought the problem we had was over at Suffolk Drive, but EAI.
That's a different one.
Oh, I thought that's on it. Can you just refresh my memory? Last time you were in, we voted on extending a road for a guy, Class 5.
Yes.
Where does that, what happened there?
Bracket column.
Planning board tomorrow night?
Yes.
It comes up for the planning board tomorrow night, so. we
Okay,
should
that's
get-
gonna be gravel, right? Because somebody
Yeah,
asked me about
No, it's
that.
gravel, the whole road's gravel.
gravel.
But now, I have somebody else interested in buying the next lot down. And I said, listen, it would not be worth coming in and asking authorization because we don't know what the planning board is gonna dictate about the
Right.
first one. I said, if it gets approved and they say X amount of road has to be upgraded, then you'd come in and ask for authorization upgrade, which I'm sure that you would grant. So, they're looking, there's potentially, it's been popping up more and more because there's just not that much land out there. And then there's potential for one down on, down by your property.
Right.
There's a piece of.
Kempton?
Kempton, there's a piece of land that potentially somebody's gonna ask to extend the road a little bit more to put a house lot in.
Right. And all that changes is that we have to maintain that piece.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what was the distance up there on that road?
On Rattle Hollow?
Yeah.
It could be anywhere, we gave them up to 1,000, but I think it's possible it's only be 425 feet when the planning board gets through.
All right.
But the new one, is that beyond or is that on the other side of the road?
Beyond, further down,
So the new one would have to take it,
from whatever the planning board, the rest of the way.
Which is why you need to wait until the planning board makes its decision, because it might not be the 1,000 feet.
That's what I told him, yeah. I
Right.
said, and he, like I said, I can't, I'm giving you my opinion. He was looking to make an offer on the land. I said, I would not do that. I said, I'd have somebody look at the land to make sure it's buildable, because there's a lot of wetlands down there. You want to make sure that everything's in line before you go buy a
It's
piece
very
of
close
land.
to the creek.
Yeah, so,
Is
but,
there a building site on it that works and all that, yeah?
yeah, otherwise you buy land that you can put a tree hut on it. That's it.
if he's got to run 600 feet, it doesn't benefit him at all, except
Yeah.
it gets him to where he needs to go.
Yeah.
That's a huge expense.
Especially down there, but like Kempton Road wouldn't be a big expense because there's already a gravel base there. And then the last thing, Jimmy, you had asked me about picking up the compactor for Josh. We're gonna do that Friday, as long as they can load it, we're gonna wrap that on Friday.
Nice. All right, Joe, thank you for coming in and giving us this update. It was well needed, and keep doing the good work. The roads are looking beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, where are we now? Eric? I'll take care of this. Thank you. You're the vice chair. Eric? Hey, how are you? What's happening, buddy? Congratulations on moving equipment into the new fire station.
Yeah, it was really nice
And it's
last night.
it was exciting. I was over at the fire station here the other night, joining the guys cutting up that car.
Yeah,
It was very interesting.
yeah, they want to get a little practice in before next Sunday.
That's,
Coming Sunday.
that's very cool.
If you want to let everybody know you're the only one that got the invitation.
I pay attention.
Since you-
Right, Eric? Right, Eric? I know what was going on.
Yeah.
Eric, so before we get into anything else, you back the trucks into the fire station. They're out of center station.
Yep.
So what do you have left in the center station? Because you know construction's going
I think
on.
there's just a little bit of equipment, radio, guys, some of the guys that weren't able to make it that night, their gear, that kind of stuff.
What about the sign over the door? Do you guys have
Probably
to take that?
taken some of that
A
stuff
nice
too,
wood
yeah.
sign?
Yep.
Well, I would suggest to you guys to go in there and really look it over, because we're gonna be knocking out the wall, and
Right.
there's gonna be a lot of things that we're gonna be doing, so if you can make sure,
Yeah, we're
because
gonna-
we don't wanna have something go missing that you guys, oh my God, that we wanted
Right,
that.
yeah,
Eric,
we're gonna
the-
try to get in there this week and get that,
Yeah,
everything that they want cleaned out, so.
That,
I
that's,
think you want the TV, don't you? Wasn't that on the list of
You
things?
know,
to
I
remove?
don't know what they, I think the guys
Yeah,
purchased it.
that belongs to the association, the Swanzey
Okay.
Center have their own
Yeah,
association.
so,
I asked Keith the other day, and they still don't know, so.
yeah.
Well, pretty soon I'll be paying rent, so.
And we got all the trophies still, so, you know.
Right.
A lot of
Right, I told the girls upstairs, I said, well, they might just start popping in your offices. I don't know what they want to do with them, so.
There's a lot of pride there.
I should've just
Yeah,
asked
yes.
Keith, I just saw him at the pizza place, so, he was down with the car show. So, yeah, so you're gonna go in and just fine tooth
Yeah,
it,
we're
you
gonna-
know,
we're
look
gonna-
around and see if there's anything
Anything
there
left and
valuable,
stuff,
and,
yeah.
because I think we're gonna probably be pushing all that stuff to the other end while they're working, and
Right.
we don't wanna have anything lost that you need or want,
Right.
so, that's great. So how did it look with the trucks pulled in, backed right in, and looked
Did- yeah,
beautiful?
looked great, yeah.
So you're actually there now, you're working out of there?
Yes.
So
Our
our next,
offices and all that aren't quite fully in there yet, but yeah, the trucks, the guys are gonna, they know to go
Is the
there
ladder
now.
truck in?
What's that?
The ladder truck in yet?
The ladder truck's not in there yet.
That's what I thought. I
We'll move that
couldn't-
in there either tomorrow or Friday.
I couldn't see it when I went by. I'm looking at the windows.
Yeah, today we moved some more equipment over there, the brush truck got put in there today, so, yeah, either tomorrow or Friday, we'll get the ladder truck in there, so,
all right.
things are good,
So
so.
the
Really
next-
gonna thank Joe for, a couple of quick phone calls to get that other stuff.
Yeah, I put it out in an
Online.
email to thank them for stepping in on that, because it moved along faster than we thought.
Yep.
We still have to get the elevator set up, but that's,
Yeah, I gotta make a few phone calls to figure out what it truly does need for,
Yeah.
what style of phone it needs
Yeah.
for that, and, yeah,
we might have to get a line put in,
Yeah.
so.
So the other thing, before we get into it, you need to be here, this is a good opportunity for this, to talk about this, is we got a date of October 10th to have our opening for the fire station, right? So we discussed maybe getting a small group of us to get together and discuss the plan. Because things that I thought of was like parking. You know, maybe we could use the school and shuttle people up or something like that, because this could be a big turnout. It was a big thing for our town. And we don't want to take, you know, we got to have parking. We're on that main road. We can't have people trying to, right? Worst thing we can happen is something happen with all the traffic there. So I was suggesting that maybe we get a little group together, detail all those details out.
Yep.
What we're going to do, the timelines and all that.
Yep, I know we've got a request out, so we've got a few.
You do have a request
Yep,
out for a
we've got
group,
request out to the
and we
group.
could have meeting, I'd like to sit on the meetings if the board is okay with that I sit in on those, organize the day. And we organize the day so it goes smooth?
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
All right, so you just get in touch with me when you got a group and
Yeah.
we'll get together.
Sure.
Okay.
What's the the timeline for having your offices in there?
It's looking like probably we'll get, I think, a bulk of it moved this week. I've talked to Tanya, and it looks like Monday they'll be able to come out, get our computer stuff set up, and then we should be pretty much fully functioning out of there.
So, and we're on schedule to meet there on Tuesday for our meeting, our monthly
Yes,
meeting?
yep.
So, I just want to be sure when we walk in that there's room for us and all that,
Oh, yeah.
everything's all set up. Yeah, good, fantastic.
Pot of coffee on.
Yeah, well,
They don't have the coffee machine yet.
They don't
We
have a
don't,
coffee?
yeah, we don't even have a coffee.
That didn't come with the building, a big espresso machine or nothing? Come on, Eric. Come on. Holy cow. Well, we'll have to fix that problem.
Yeah.
But we are going to have our meeting there.
Yeah.
And we have enough of chairs for everybody to sit around, and it's going to be fun to have
They
our
asked
meeting.
about the joint loss. Joint loss is gonna have a meeting there, same day, just later in the day.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, so I told them just keep right with that plan. Things looking like they're going the right way. That was a couple weeks ago, so
Very
things are
exciting.
gonna be good for them, so.
And I see you've got a lot of pictures to put up.
We do, yep, we've got quite a few.
Are you going to have the picture of the fire station, that one that you have, the
Yeah.
nice one?
Yeah.
You're going to really put that up there?
Yep, yep,
Great idea.
yep.
yeah, that's a good idea. I remember when we toured the Westmoreland Fire Station? There was nothing on the walls?
Right, yeah, no, I've got plenty of, I grabbed a lot of
Good.
all the chief's photos. I still got, Bob Simons to get a hold of. Unfortunately, with the day we were gonna get all our pictures done, he had a mild heart attack, I believe, or had some chest discomfort issues. Put him out of the game for a little while, so. But I'm gonna get a hold of him so I can get he's my last hanging one to complete that,
Nice, sir.
so.
And Eric, I just want to pass on, I've heard from my neighbor who was absolutely thrilled with the way you treated her and your crew treated her with respect when she had the kitchen fire. And also from Kathy Snow across the way, who said that you were wonderful with her, et cetera. I just want to commend you publicly
Thank you.
for that.
Thank you.
And Sue as well.
So my main thing to come in here tonight for was the replacement of one of our command cars. So I know I've got all my quotes back. It looks like between the car, the fit up, and the box to go in the back, it's about $88,000. We've got 90 put away in capital CIP. So just wanted to kind of get that approval to start that process to get the car purchased and move forward with that.
What triggers the need to replace the vehicle now?
Well, that one's at 110,000. So
Which unit is it?
it's the car that Nick drives. So that was the old command car that Norm purchased. So that one has a lot of miles on it. The one that Mike uses was one of the squads that we had, and it spent a lot of time really not being used. So that one has, I want to say that's in the 40,000 mile range. So it is a few years older than that one, but it's in pristine shape, so.
The middle car in this scenario is older than the one we're gonna eliminate?
Yeah, so, and that one is a 3/4 ton, so it's built a little bit more rugged, so.
Which one?
The one that Michael drives.
Mike has.
Yeah.
And what is this one?
This one, they don't make a 3/4 ton in that style of vehicle anymore, so it'll be just a regular, I think they just consider it a 1/2 ton style vehicle. So it'll be identical to the car I have.
Is there benefit to a 3/4 ton that would warrant
It could-
looking
it
at a
could
different
help.
style?
It would help with towing different pieces of equipment, but the other cars handle them just as well. So, yeah, that's really about it.
How many miles is on the vehicle you drive?
The one I have is, I think that's 29,000.
Okay.
So,
So at that rate, it'll be several years before we have to replace any others.
hopefully, yes, yep.
When was the money put in CIP? Was it built up or did it come in last year? Was it specifically set for this?
I think it's been set for a while, yeah. It's been in the process of it.
For a command vehicle or for just a fire truck in general?
You know, I don't really know the answer to that question. I didn't know how it was broken down.
The reason I'm asking, I know we're gonna go for a new fire truck. I don't wanna take that kind of money out
Yeah,
because obviously the fire trucks
yeah, I
are
think it's, I mean, the way I've kind of understood it, it's
specifically for,
kind of all of them is what it covers.
Yeah, I think the account name or something is fire trucks, but it could apply to command vehicles as well.
Yeah.
Is it worth figuring that out and then making the decision on Tuesday to know exactly what the funding is? So I think, Mark's got a pretty good point. That next vehicle is a pretty hefty charge.
Yep. We can, yeah. I can look it up. I'm trying to get a hold of Steve and figure that out.
I think that would be best, just because I don't want to, lack of a better term, screw us over.
Oh, sure, yeah, no, I get that,
Come in
yeah.
March when we definitely need a fire truck.
Yep. Yep, sure.
So why don't we just table this until we do a little more investigation this week? We're meeting with them next Tuesday, right? And that will be on our agenda to discuss with them guys, and we'll know numbers, we'll know all that. And you already have all the information on the truck you guys want? And so you got the quote, everything's all lined up? Okay, because that is an official meeting that we have, all this is it, so we can react there if we have to, okay?
Yeah.
And then we can do a little investigation ourselves, right?
Yep.
Thank you, Eric, that was good, and thanks for updating us on this.
Is this through the state program?
Yeah, that's through the state bid, yep.
So
So it goes through, Bank Chevrolet, yeah.
So there's no one local, it would just be...
Right,
Max's-
yeah.
Are they the only ones participating or the closest ones to us?
They're the only ones that deal with the Chevy side of it, yes. That they do, the police and
Is that where Joe got his car?
public, I think they call it public utilities.
Is that where Joe got his car, the police?
I think so.
Yeah, because the only other, they offer I think they offer a Ford, but I don't think it goes that big. It's the smaller,
Explorers or whatever.
yeah, Explorer, yeah, there you go. So it would be the smaller vehicle.
Any resale value of the other one, or you could trade it in, or is what?
Yeah, I would assume that there's probably some sort of value to it.
Is it part of the purchase trading in for some
No.
value? No, they don't.
No, I'm quite sure they did. If you look through it, probably like a municipal bid, there's a value to it.
So we could offer it for sale on a site to see
Yep.
what we can get for it?
Yeah, I would think so, because it's all set up for that kind of.
It's all equipped and
thing,
everything, so, yeah.
Yep,
So I would hope we get something for it.
right.
Do we strip anything from that to go into the new car?
So some of the radios will come out.
Yeah.
There'll be one new radio, but a couple of the older radios will go in.
Okay.
Yep,
Lights?
yep.
They all come with the lights on the top and everything?
But this is coming, you're asking if it's coming out of the current vehicle? Yep, and it
Yeah,
is?
yeah, the lights won't come out of the current vehicle.
They won't?
No,
Too old?
yeah.
And then do we letter it and all that here?
Yeah, we'll get it lettered.
We have a local guy that does the lettering here? Or who does it?
Yeah, we either could use, Mark Johnson.
Yeah, over
Or-
by Swanzey Lake Road.
Yep, or there's another girl that lives down on, actually right across from Mike Burke. She's been doing a lot of municipal vehicles now. So, and I think she did actually a pickup truck. So, I don't know her name offhand, but.
Is that fee part of the 88,000?
No, that was one I didn't get into. But it wasn't very expensive to get lettering done.
So we'd hope that
The last time it was
selling
only
the vehicle,
$2,000.
selling the old vehicle would cover that.
Yeah,
But that coming up like it just did, is there any other things other than the signage that are not involved in the
no,
ADA?
I think I got all the
I
other
mean, we're
stuff.
not gonna be surprised at, oh, we gotta do another 2 for this or that.
Not that I know of, no.
Just to
Just the
letter it.
lettering was the only thing I did skip over, and I apologize for that.
No problem.
But,
No, I just wanna make sure we don't have any more of those.
right. Yep.
Great, so that's what we're gonna do, okay? We're gonna take a look around and so I'll call Steve and look, see what the money situation, then we're gonna meet with you on Tuesday at the new fire station.
Yep,
9:30 a.m.
Fantastic.
yep.
Awesome.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
So the only other thing,
Yeah.
and I'll just, they're all a little different, so you guys can just see. I don't know if it warrants your signature, we put them on here as for your signatures, but it's the letter for the changeover from Aldrich Road to
Yes.
Coolidge Road.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, you really want that more, with all your signatures on it. If you do, great. I can get all the signatures
I
done.
don't see how it could hurt. Why don't we do it now and
And
just
then
give it to you?
I can get these letters to Katie.
So
If we were passing them right?
these are each of them?
Yeah, each one.
Yeah, each
So
one is
I'm
individual.
just wondering if we can address them to the individuals as opposed to dear owner?
It is.
Oh, that's
No, I
right.
know, but could we put dear Joanne and Norman?
Well, they have it, their name right up on top though.
Right, I'm just saying,
So we're just
Sure.
gonna move this?
Yeah.
I can change that.
it just makes it more personal.
Well, then we have to sign them again, so bring these on,
I'm
bring these
going
on
with you.
Tuesday.
We'll bring them on Tuesday.
Bring these
Yeah,
on Tuesday.
let me bring them on Tuesday. I'll make that.
So all you have to do is put Michael down here, you know what I mean?
Let's keep
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
let's keep one just in case.
We're gonna keep this one if we, or do you need them all?
No, I don't.
You can look them up, right?
Nope, yep, I've got them all already. So,
Hey, one more question, the
Thanks,
fence.
Eric.
Is it going up?
fence, yes, what did Michael tell me last night? It's what did he tell me? They're waiting for a deposit. I think that was the last
They
email
need a
he had.
deposit.
That was the last email
What
he had
company?
from
With that lock fence?
Monadnock, yeah. But I think he got it late last week.
So did he ask anybody how he's gonna go about getting the deposit? Does anybody know?
I
Do you
haven't
know
yet.
about it?
I think I saw the email, but I was waiting for, it wasn't so much a request, it was just a notification of what they needed. So-
Yeah.
So basically, I think you should tell Michael to come prepared to get that approved by us. And that means, I'll try to ask Teresa before Tuesday where she wants.
Okay.
We already
Unfortunately, he's
approved to
had
buy
some
it.
shoulder problems, so he hasn't been in this week.
They're probably a vendor already.
Yeah.
But we already approved to buy it.
We approved the buying it, so the question is, all we have to do is,
Gentlemen, check.
tell her
Yeah,
to send
just
it,
gonna get it, yeah.
gonna authorize her to send a check for the deposit, right? So I just need the
Well, there should
number.
be a paper trail on that.
Yeah, request for that
Yep.
number, and it should be written out on the email.
Okay, so let's clarify this. We're asking Eric to leave here and go see Michael and have Michael bring the papers to Teresa? Is that what we're talking
No,
about?
I mean, it could be emailed to me and I'll print it out. I just, I need to, maybe I can look at the email again, but I've lost it.
I think all Mike had was, they were basically just the quotes.
So I need
And
to
part of the
know,
quote, I know, because I only saw him last night. He's
Right.
been, like I said, he's been out this week due to
Yeah.
some injury. But it was, I think he said that was the one kind of got agreed to go with.
right,
And he said it just is gonna need, there's a certain amount of deposit.
if there's a way he can email me again what the deposit number is and
Sure.
amount is and who exactly we're
Who's
sending it
gonna
to.
go to.
I'm sure they're set up as a vendor in our system, but I'm not sure if that's
Yep.
true or not. If they are, then it's just simply me going to Teresa and say, let's pay this, or
Sure.
Lisa, pay this.
The quote ought to have the line item
Yeah.
for a deposit.
We need to see
So
their
something on-
quote.
Something on their letterhead.
Okay,
Yeah, we need an invoice from them or a quote
Yep.
from them.
all right.
Okay, so you know what we need to get, because I'd like to see the fence go up sooner than later, so when we have the event, the fence is up,
Oh, yeah.
and we're already operating out of there, and the apartments are there,
Right.
the fire trucks are gonna be going in and out, lights going across there, we don't wanna get no complaints.
Yep.
So at least, in the blinds,
Blinds, I believe, Mike thought they would possibly be in next week. He said
Okay.
it'll only be a couple week kind of
Okay.
turnaround, so
All right.
that should put him sometime next week,
okay,
so.
all right.
Need any more chairs?
Offhand, not that I know of yet.
You know where you can find some.
We're gonna have a yard sale pretty soon.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Eric,
That was
thank
about
you.
it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you for coming on Sunday as
See you
well.
Tuesday.
Appreciate it.
What's that?
Thank you for you guys coming on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it.
It's gonna be a good day, Eric. Thank you so much for showing, yeah.
See you Sunday.
We're gonna have a police car there too. Okay, Mark. I think you're up for a motion, right?
I make a motion to authorize Finance Director Lounder to request a refund check in the amount of $7,691 from Primex for the 2025 workers' compensation return of surplus.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Could we jump to E and just get that? Could we jump to E and just get that?
Yeah, let's just do that.
I make a motion to approve the purchase of a new, it's not a laptop though, right?
New computer, desktop computer.
Computer for the Human Resource Coordinator from Emertech in the amount of $2,373.57 with the funds to be expended from the Town Hall Information Management System Expendable Trust Fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, it is.
Can't believe it.
That's yours. Okay, at a meeting a couple of weeks ago, we met Sara Barrett and agreed to engage her, her consulting firm, to assist us with seeking grants and grant writing. So this is a proposed consulting services agreement that she provided. I did have it reviewed by Cordell. He was fine with it. And the only change we need to make is the duration. She put it from July 30th through April 30th. And I suggested to her, given what we're experiencing with regard to timing for Northern Borders, that she extended to December 31st of 2027. She did send it to me, but it came through a DocuSign that I wasn't comfortable opening up. So the only change would be the duration to 12/31. Essentially, it shows that the flat rate fee that she and her firm charge for the Northern Borders pre-application and application, and then an hourly rate of $100 for other grant writing and services. $100 per hour.
So we're not paying her dollars per hour in addition to the fixed fee, we're just paying her the fixed fee.
For the Northern Borders, but any other work that we engage her to do. And I did ask her to provide us with a budget, proposed budget, so that, for example, we talked about having her research any grants that might be available for Wilson Pond and other projects that we have. But before she actually engages in one, she'd give us a proposed budget. As I explained to her, we don't really have anything in the 2026 budget. For this specific, we do have a line item for consulting services, but not specific to grant writing. So we need to make sure we could cover whatever her costs would be. And she's already had, yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, she had a Zoom meeting with Scott Self, Steve Biddle, and a gentleman whose name I've forgotten from DES to review the current grants that we're looking for.
Okay, and in addition to the Northern Borders, in other words, this is
Correct.
about other grants?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. That sounds wonderful. Is there more word about the timing for the Northern Borders pre-application? Is that working more toward next year, or?
It depends.
Yeah. Okay.
So with the sewer, because of the loan that we received, the original desire was to apply for Northern Borders grant for this year for the sewer. The recommendation that came from Sara, as you recall, was that the Northern Borders application will be looked on more favorably if there's an indication of municipal support, and in our case, town meeting support. So she recommended that we hold off because of the fact that we have this other loan, which will cover the engineering, that we hold off until January/February of next year to do the pre-application, go on the warrant, and if we gain approval, then file the final application. For the water committee, Water Sewer Committee has recommended that for the potential purchase of the West Swanzey Water Company, that we do apply this year with a pre-app specifically for the water, and that would be up to $1 million through Northern Borders, and that money would cover the purchase as well as the needed maintenance costs to the system that they've projected.
And we don't need any authorization from the town to accept that money if it's...
Well, that's the weakness. We would still need town acceptance, but it would be a grant.
Yeah. So the grant money would be offered to us. We need the town's vote to accept it, but it pretty much is a no-brainer for the town to vote for it if it's already there with no cost.
Right.
One would hope so.
And we did score very highly on DES's review for the water project.
So she's prepared to do a pre-application for August 21st deadline for that,
I didn't talk to her today, but...
for the water? That's
she
what
was.
she's...
That's
Okay.
part of what she was trying to determine
Okay.
in that call yesterday.
And is that the fixed fee of $2,500 that we'd cover for that? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Sounds like you've done good work here, Bill.
Not me. We have. We brought her in. She's a Spitfire. She's got a good assistant, Nicole, and they're well-versed in not only grants, but fundraising in general. So there may be some opportunities
So we're going to want a motion to accept this,
to authorize you to sign
authorize it to me to sign this.
with the extension through December of 2027.
With the change to the dates to be through December 31st.
So the motion would be,
Make a motion to authorize
The chair.
the chair to sign a contract with Sara Barrett Consulting LLC. Duration of the contract, July 30th, 2026 through December 31st, 2027.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
As he's signing it, the one thing I did forget to mention is she does require a $2,000 retainer.
It says it right here.
Yeah.
It's at the 12th today?
Yeah, sorry.
So that
Coming out
means
of
we
my
need
pocket?
to get that,
Give me a couple.
get her set up with the calendar.
Sure, well, 2026.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we want to, because that still says April 30th.
Cross it out,
Yeah.
make it December 31st then initially, please.
I just wanted to pass on that Stefan would like to be kept in the loop about what kinds of things are happening with her so that he doesn't duplicate any efforts. He looks into things.
Good idea.
Stefan knows about this?
He knows that we're doing something with Sara Barrett around water and sewer, but he doesn't know specifically what this is.
And he wants to be kept in the loop so that he's not duplicating her efforts.
Who did find out, it does say draft across the front of it.
What's that?
It says draft across the front
Oh,
of it.
yeah, well, we'll get a real one.
We'll have to get a new one anyway because we got to change the date. So
Okay.
then Jim will have to sign that.
At least we're good now.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Review town ordinance policy. We need to
Okay.
do that next.
We can, so this isn't what I was hoping for. We have, okay, this is what I wanted to discuss, but I'm going to just hand it out. It's the vacation schedule.
Oh, Megan asked whether we were doing that tonight. I didn't see it in here and I said no.
Thank you.
So in fairness to Megan, she is working on making some adjustments, but I wanted to hand this out so everybody had an opportunity to review it for the next meeting.
So basically, we're gonna review this and bring it up on the agenda next meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Where are we now?
The meeting location for next week.
Oh, yeah.
As I mentioned
So-
before, I won't be here on the 19th.
Of course not.
Loud.
Okay, I mentioned, I emailed out that I suggested down by Swanzey Lake, but somebody came back with the new fire station.
That was my suggestion.
And I thought that beat mine out. I thought I had a good one, and then he beat me out, I think, with the fire station.
Well, I don't know if we have room for, with the new fire station, have enough room for this meeting?
And we're doing that because we're doing the floors.
Yes.
Right?
So the question is about Kai, whether he can set up for there.
Okay, so they're gonna be doing the floors here in our the meeting of the 19th. And we're not gonna be able to have a select board meeting, so we were talking about doing it at the new fire station. Would that be possible that you could go over there and set up something for us to?
I won't be able to get, the entire sound system over there, but I can definitely film it.
Okay.
I can do a live stream.
We can do a live stream. We're okay without that. I think we'll be good. It's a small area, and I think our voices will travel in there.
Okay.
And
We think there's going to be internet set up in there, right? We're pretty sure the internet's going to, because Tanya's going to come in and help them with their office moves, but that's the only concern. If there's no internet, you're not going to live stream, are you?
I can always record and then upload later.
Yep.
But that is an important thing. Power and internet are always the two big.
all right, so the worst scenario is record, and we put a date out that you're gonna be playing it, right?
Exactly. I always bring my speed card with me, so I can always just record it straight
Is
up.
everybody comfortable with them recording it if we don't have? Yeah,
Yes.
so we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go that route. If we don't have it, we'll do it that way, okay? So the 19th fire station.
Oh, the 19th, okay.
The new fire station,
Okay, same time.
same
Yes,
time.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Is this supposed to be the town attendance policy?
It
Yeah,
was,
I want to do that in conjunction with this, and we didn't get this added,
So
so
the attendance policy will be another.
next week. Yep.
Did I miss anything tonight, guys? Anybody want to help me?
Business.
Were we going to talk about the North Swansea zip code?
The North Swansea what?
North Swansea zip code change?
Yep, that's next.
Yep.
So I had some really exciting phone call last week. Did Pam Slack get a hold of you, Jim?
No.
She was gonna try to get a hold of you. She was jumping, this is something that she's been working on ever since she's worked with Gene Shaheen. And last year, Maggie Goodlander helped the town. The goal is for North Swansea to become 03446, so there's no longer confusion with Roxbury, Surrey, and Keene. And last year, the House passed a bill, and it got hung up in the Senate. So this year, it came out of committee, strongly favoring the changes. It's not just us, this is across the country. So she's reasonably optimistic and hopeful that the final vote will occur while Senator Shaheen is still in office. So this is a huge hurdle for us to cross. So she was extraordinarily excited.
Wow.
The article in the paper, the post office official was quoted as saying all these crazy reasons why it was going to be a terrible thing if we made the switch. It just was very discouraging.
Well, we had the meetings originally, that I was a part of anyway, about 10 years ago. That was when we were meeting at Town Hall. And the initial response we got from the local post office was smooth sailing.
Huh.
The next meeting, they came from Portland, and it was no longer smooth sailing. So they were just putting the brakes on.
So what are some of the bad things about it?
well,
Like,
you
give me an
know,
example.
business in North Swansea have never had any mail delivery problems. Okay? But the rest of Swansea has had mail delivery problems this year. And so that would be a concern from North Swansea. However, I think those are related to the lack of carriers and so on. It's not necessarily but see, 03431 is the Keene zip code, so North Swansea gets all their mail processed out of there, but so does the rest of Swansea. So it's hard to pinpoint what might be a problem, Jimmy. It really is.
The article, the fellow said stuff like all sorts of inefficiencies, and it wasn't clear. It just seemed very...
So was it more, don't mess with something that's working?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds
is.
to me.
Yeah, and so it means that Swansea doesn't have an identity as Swansea if we stay with what it is, and I can understand the reason for going to that. And frankly, it's a little bit disconcerting because when you order something from Amazon or some other service and you put in 03431, they say, oh, you're in Keene. And we're not.
It's the same thing happens in MLS. When a property goes in with the 3-1, it automatically populates as Keene.
Right.
And has to be changed, Google Maps, all of that. So, but
Yeah.
the identity that's the critical piece.
We are not Keene. As much as people think we are a subset of Keene, we are not.
We'd like to have you join Swansea.
So, as much as it would be a change in some of my accounts and this and that, I welcome that happening.
Can you give me some points of not Swansea, like designated points, like corners of what's not Swansea? Where does it separate? Wilson Pond over 12.
You mean 03431?
Yeah.
It's basically the North Swansea area. I don't know where that ends and where it begins. I really don't. I'm not sure whether the Safford Drive addresses or North Swansea addresses are 03431 or not. I don't know where
I
it
gotta
becomes
look at that.
03446.
I gotta look, must have something in the town hall that shows that, right? We don't?
There's a zip code map somewhere you can get online, like the U.S. Post Office.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just one of those things where it seemed like a good idea in terms of the delivery of mail, because it seemed to be more efficient, but as we have an identity as a town, we ought to have our own zip code. So I would.
I agree. Chesterfield has 3.
Well, we have 2, but, you know.
Well, we have 3.
Yeah, we have 3 now, but we would have 2.
Yep.
And I understand Surrey and Roxbury are also in the Keene zip code.
Yeah.
It's a pretty strong system.
Yes.
Gee, what do you got for us, administrative
Okay,
update?
I got a couple things. One is I mentioned this in our meeting yesterday. I just want to be sure that we're aware of it, that we are asked to put on the warrant a change in the term of office for the supervisor of the checklist. I mentioned that yesterday. And we need to decide at some point whether we want to do that or not. Just because Linda asked for it doesn't mean we have to do it, but she did ask nicely for it. That's the number one. The second one is, talked to Kevin about this, and I mentioned it to Bill, I believe. This came from Chris Levy, but it's an issue that I feel strongly about also. There are a lot of property owners in town who are not aware that they need a permit to do certain things in their property, like add an addition or add a shed or something like that. And some of the companies don't cooperate with that anyway. You know, like Blueberry Hill will drop a shed on the property without telling the property owner they need to get a permit first. And we're brainstorming what we could do about that. And it was a nice conversation with Chris, and he said he thought that the select board should think about this. And I came up with one idea which we could at least start to solve the problem with. We put a notice in the tax bills that go out in December, reminding all property owners that if they're going to do work on their property that involves renovation or addition of something, they should check with the town hall to be sure that they've got the necessary permits. And I would ask Chris and Adam to write up this thing and get us to approve it. And then Kevin said it's a fairly easy matter to insert that in the tax bill. So that was the idea.
Well, what brought this to the top of the water?
Well, a couple things. You know, Chris is, he's had a lot of issues where he's run into people who have added a shed without getting a permit, or he found one person who was renovating their kitchen without getting a permit. And he says there are two issues. One is that the work needs to be certified and permitted for resale. Bill mentioned that too. If you buy a house and some of the work that you're purchasing that has been done a couple of years ago wasn't permitted, there could be some issues with insurance and so on. So you may be at risk. But the other one is for the town.
Well, can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
Explain that, Bill. So if I did work to my home, we did the bathroom over and had a contractor in, and then I said, I'm going to sell it. You as a realtor comes to my house and you say, okay, Jimmy, I see you redid the bathroom. Do you have proof of the permit? Who would ask for that?
The realtor won't, but the listing agreement stipulates, you answer the question as to, actually it's a property disclosure, as to whether you had any work done on the property without permits.
Huh. Is that new? That's been there for years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Disclosure.
that's one issue. And the second issue is just for the town, because if you add a shed or you renovate your kitchen or add an addition to your house, you've increased the value of your property. But if you haven't been permitted, the assessor doesn't know that. So we're losing revenue in cases like this because we're not changing the assessment of the property, and we're not getting the taxes that we should be getting. So,
But isn't it the obligation of the electrician or the plumber that goes in
It's
to
entirely
not
the
do the work unless there's a permit?
it's entirely the responsibility of the property owner to get the permits necessary. Now, I had a contractor, work on my house, and they got the permit for me, but it's not their obligation to do that. Some of the good contractors will do that, but it's not, in other words, we couldn't go after the shed company who's dropping these things in inappropriate locations on people's property. We can't go after them because it's not their responsibility to get the permit.
So when Chris goes out to a property that, say I start building something, I'm putting a slab down and then my contractor's standing there, I'm there and Chris pulls up and I got no permit, he goes after me, not the contractor?
That's right.
He doesn't say to the contractor, how are you doing this work with no permit?
It's your problem, it's your potential fine, it's your potential thing. So, and he was just getting frustrated because he's running into several of these
The contractors would
things.
have some kind of obligations, holding a license for that position,
Yeah.
that they would not attempt to rewire a house, without a permit.
I would think so,
It's
too.
surprising to me,
But
but they don't have to worry about
I
that.
think what this notice would be, and Bill suggests we also put it in Swanzey Uncovered as well, but we try to make sure we get the word out that this needs to happen. And once we do that, if people don't do it, then they've been notified. And it gives Chris even more leverage to go in and make things right. And you can get a permit after the fact, but, you know, so if you've done work and you need to get a permit, and you forgot about it. But in the case of at least one instance that Bill and I are aware of, a shed was placed in the wrong place, and there was nothing we can do about it because the permit was given.
So would this be a separate piece of paper alongside the tax bill in the same envelope?
That's right. That's right.
Because we're gonna do the mailing anyway, so
Kevin
it's a
says-
figure, right?
Kevin says it's a
So it
minor
would just be the
cost.
fact of stuffing it in the envelope.
Minor cost for them to stuff it in there. We pay a little bit more for the
I
mailing.
like the idea.
But I think that's a solution to at least get the word out.
Well, it doesn't cost us nothing more.
In
than
addition to
do
that, as we get into the new website, I would like to see Adam or Chris create a video that could be posted on the video about permitting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just informational videos like that, I think, should be on the website.
And I like the idea of also putting something in Swanzey Uncovered, some kind of little article about that.
So is this something you would like to address on the next tax bill that goes out? Would you like to see it?
Absolutely.
So is that something that the select board has to approve, that
Well,
we're
I
gonna
just
put it in there?
wanted approval from you for me to go to Chris and Adam and say, can we draft something for our review in time to get it in the bill, which means, you know, by the end of September maybe, so that we can look at it and make sure it's ready to go.
Well, where would the expense be?
Bigger weight of the thing, and maybe the processing of the extra sheet of paper, but Kevin said it was minimal.
So that's what we'd have to approve, right, basically? Okay.
Because we don't stuff the envelopes anymore.
No, it's done by the service, and they would print it out too, so, you know, they may charge us something for printing it, but Kevin said it was pretty good.
So
We've done it
first we'll
before.
start with them writing something up that we go in,
Right.
would all agree, would have consensus of that, and then we would go out and get the excess expense of this, and then the select board would approve it,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Third thing was, last week we voted to rearrange the funds for the Stratton Library, and in talking with Teresa this week, it wasn't necessary for us to do that. The funds are there. It's just a matter of how they draw those funds this year for whatever. In other words, we didn't have to move them from one year to another. They're in there. It's how they expend those funds that is important, and all we had to do was, basically what we did was we authorized them to pull out more from one fund this year than they were originally planning to. But the funds were given to the accounts in the vote last March. So we didn't have to do anything. The funds are there. So some funds were added to it, but there are enough funds in there to cover the expenditure. So when it comes time for them to pay for the work done, all we have to do is authorize that work. We didn't have to do what we did last week. So I just wanted to clarify that.
I must have misunderstood Steve then.
And Steve, you know, it's okay, it's no big deal. I mean, Teresa taught me a few things about how things work, and then Steve said, Teresa's absolutely right, and so I'm very confident that we're fine. And the last thing is, Jimmy, we've talked about editing this mentorship agreement, and you're the one, I think, who has the digital copy of this. I don't know exactly what we want to do with that, but if we're going to do it, we need to get working on that, and I think...
Well, if you give me your changes that you like, and Bill, I think you have one that you liked, and no, yours went away.
So if you want me to, I'll cross out and
Press
add
it
some
right there and
things in.
then send it to me, and
Okay.
I'll forward it over to Michael, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so Michael has the original copy, and,
Correct.
okay, that's what I wondered about, so.
So actually, you could leave me out of that, do the changes that you want. I'll inform Michael that you're gonna be getting it and see what he thinks. But we would have to review the changes
Yeah, that's
too.
what I think.
Okay, so it'll go to all of us.
It's something that we ought to be
You got it.
working on because of
Yeah,
things, so.
we gotta be ready.
That's all I have for administrative update.
Very good. They're all important things. You good? Okay. Any other business that anybody can think of? We gotta go in a non-public.
Did we get did Bill get his correspondence? There was something in one of the folders there. Correspondence for Bill?
Really?
Yeah, one of the folders?
Yeah,
I think it's in one of the red folder, I think, the back of the red folder. sure this is very important, Bill.
Oh, yes. I get it at home, too. Anybody want it? It is, it's Southwest Regional Planning.
I got one of those.
Yeah. you want it?
Okay, so correspondence, we're good? And public input. Hi, everybody. Anybody want to speak?
Speak up, please.
Okay, very good. All right, motion to adjourn.
No, motion to go into non-public.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I'm sorry. Okay.
Under B, hiring.
Aye? Yep.
Ward.
Yes.
Okay,